All right, so we are super excited to be starting our first Destination Diamond, a double diamond week one, shall we call it, group. So we're super excited. So just to get started, I did want to start a little devotion. This is one of my kids' devotional books, and I absolutely love it. It's got the most simplest messages, and it also gives a reading for you to go into the Bible too. So this one is called Keep Pouring. And I think I mentioned this, Melissa, maybe on a Zoom in the past, but I love it. And the verse is, God is able to do far more than we could ever ask for or imagine. He does everything by his power that is working in us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. It says, keep pouring. Elisha was a prophet of God who continued the work of Elijah. One day, a poor widow came to Elisha for help. She had 2 sons to care for, and all she owned was a little olive oil. When that was gone, she would have nothing. Elisha told the woman to go to ask her neighbors for empty jars. He told her to get as many as she could, then start pouring her oil into the empty jars. The widow didn't ask questions. She trusted Elisha and did what he told her to do. When the widow filled a jar with oil, her sons would bring her another jar to fill. She poured and poured and poured until every jar was full. When she filled the last jar, the oil from her own jar stopped flowing. With all the oil she now had, she could sell the jars and have enough money to take care of her sons. This is one of many amazing stories that we read in the Bible. It's another example of how God can do impossible things. The Bible doesn't tell us how many empty jars the widow brought to her house. Do you think if she had borrowed even more jars, that those jars would have been filled too? Like, I just love that part right there. Like, you know, if she would have continued to send her sons out to grab more jars, because it stopped, hers stopped pouring when she stopped pouring into the borrowed jars. So you think, what if she would have kept gathering? Would God have continued to give her more and more and more and more and more to pour, just keep pouring? And it says God can do much more than we can imagine. When we trust and obey God, his blessings pour over us like oil that doesn't stop. And I know that I looked it up, that 1 Kings chapter 7, verses 1 to 16, it goes on to say that Elisha stayed with her at her house with her boys, and then one of her boys gets sick, and he's like not doing well at all. And so Elisha prays to God and says, why are you doing this? Why are you giving her son sickness? Just because I'm staying with her, and she's helping me out, why are you doing this? And so then he goes and lays on the boy like 3 times, and then the boy is healed. And then the widow says, I see now, after all this oiling and all this stuff, all the pouring of the oil, I see now that you are from God. I believe it and trust everything you say. So isn't it interesting? Like, it took all of that and to see the miracle happen with her son yet for her to finally say, I trust you, and now I believe that you are a man of God, that you're sent from God. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, so that was a really good devotion and a good reminder for us to, not think that God can't provide more than we can think or even imagine. And are we asking for all that too? That's another thing. Are we asking him to just keep filling our jars, keep filling our, overflowing everything in our lives? So I think that's a great point. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this awesome Destination Diamond and Double Diamond. So Melissa, I want you to definitely let everybody know who you are, because there's going to be at least a couple watching the recording. And of course, whoever jumps in our group in the future, they're going to see all these recordings as well. So why don't you share with everybody, with everybody that watches it, who you are, where you're from, and why you joined It Works.
Oh, geez, if I knew you were recording 10 of these out, I would have put makeup on and showered.
It's all good.
I'm Melissa Rice from Hillsborough, New Jersey. And I've been in, it was, I guess, 3 years in November. And my why, I think your why changes. It's not, I mean, it really shouldn't stay the same if you've been in for more, for 3 years. So initially, my why was, to contribute financially to my family, be able to take some of that pressure off my husband. and allow for our kids to be able to do, you know, they're big, huge sports kids, and it's expensive. They're competitive sports kids. So, you know, it's hard as a parent to tell them no when it's something that they earn, you know, they do everything that's expected of them, and it's really a passion of theirs. So I initially started for that, you know, to be able to pay for gymnastics and property taxes. And the funny thing is, I'm a yellow, so I'll never forget it at my launch party when Kim sat down with me and pulled out that chart, and she asked me, you know, what's your goal? And I remember, like, you know, in my head, and I had known Kim, in my head I would have been happy with a couple $100, really, and that's all I was looking for. And I said, you know, she said, well, no, like, what's your big goal? Where would you really? I said, well, that $2,000 a month would really cover those things that I'm talking about. Never really thinking that I'd be able to get there. And so, you know, that obviously was our diamond position. So I think that, you know, sometimes as a yellow, it's hard. I envy the two of you. You know, I always say that you guys have that drive that I wish that I have. And I think that's really the thing that's been holding me back. You know, I never believed I could get to where I wanted to be. And then when I got there, I was content, and I still am. I'm one of those people that just, you know there's always people that are worse off, and really just always looking at the blessing. But like you just talked about in the devotional, that's not always good, you know, because if I don't allow God to bless me with overflowing things, I can't pour into other people the way that I really, truly, my heart would want to. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a new season for me. I've been content for a while, mm-hmm. And I just know that that's not where God wants me. So that's why I'm here, to get some of your drive, mojo. You know, I need that. So, but I'm crying in the first time.
Is that the mojo?
I'm giving you some.
I need that, like, drive. I don't have that.
Yeah. I understand. I mean, I'm probably more extreme, you know, where you're content and thankful. I have to work on that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on the other side where I'm like, we should be, you know, Ambassador Diamond by now. You know, we should be in my book, in my playbook, my game plan book. And so that's where we argue and fight. And, you know, when you have these good bonuses on the table, it really it drives me crazy. It actually drives me batty, you know, wanting to achieve what I want to achieve, and we're not maybe quite there. And I'm just like, what's not working? Well, you know, why isn't it happening? You know,
I think that the important thing to remember is, if you go back to that devotion, you have to realize that the reason why she went and got X amount of jars is because she had X amount of belief in it. Mm-hmm. And you have to remember that God gives everybody a mind, and in that mind comes their personality. Okay, so that comes the yellow, the red, the blue, all that stuff we're talking about. And so each of us has what we have from God. That's our abilities, my mind and all my abilities. And so I think that the balance is realizing that God gave us that drive or that caring or whatever that is. But then the flip side of it is to not say that it's from ourselves. Like, if we're a red, like Liz and I, our biggest problem, I would say, is that we're like, we have to go out and make it happen. And yet the balance, or the other side of that pendulum, I always talk about a pendulum, is that we have the pendulum swinging to the one side where we're like, we have been given so many gifts and talents, we're going to go out there and we're going to just burn this candle. And God's bringing the pendulum back by saying, remember who gave it to you. Don't forget to give me the glory. And then for the other side of it, the other side, maybe your side, would be to remember, hey, God did give me hopes, dreams, and goals, and I need to not hide behind the fact that I am a blue and I am caring, but he wants me to go out there and do some great things and give him the glory again. Mm-hmm. So
and he gave us, I love that verse that he gives us a spirit of no fear, a spirit of no fear. He gives us self-discipline. So that's something too, maybe for you, Melissa, that might be something where you say, God did give me the gift of self-discipline. He says it right in that Timothy verse. So he says,
that was my verse of the year last year.
Right. So you maybe need to say, all right, well, you know, yeah, being content, but also being goal-oriented and knowing that God can do immeasurably more through your goals and through your focus, and not settling. And for us, we need to remember, you know, on our end, yes, we want it. Yes, we want it. We think we're going to do it all in our strength. But God also says, hey, wait a minute. I've got this worked out. Quit trying to do it in your own control.
So I think what it comes down to is it's not, our blessings don't come from, like, if you realize the factors of how they come, it's not a measure of our abilities, right? It's not necessarily a measure of what God can do, because God is all powerful. He can do everything.
He can open floodgates at any time.
And yet we only see a certain level. So we really have to ask ourselves, why is there that certain level? And I believe that it comes down to one word, and that word is trust. I think that our blessings are poured out on us as a level of trust that's exhibited back to God. That's our faith. Because look at the widow in the story, right? She went out and got X amount of jars based on what she thought God could do for her. And then the oil stopped flowing after that. So I know there's going to be a little bit more to it. I tried to really oversimplify it there. But it really does come down to, do we trust God? Mm-hmm. Do we trust him that he's got it? And no matter what the outcome is, do we trust him that he has it? Because we can go into other places in the Bible where it says, with the faith that moves mountains and does the impossible. So,
yeah, it's the faith of a mustard seed. You can tell this mountain to go from here to move to there. And I'm like, oh man, ye of little faith, Liz, ye of little faith, you know? So, so let's talk a little bit of meat and potatoes here. You know, we're gonna get started. This is only our first.
This is our warm up.
So we're not gonna obviously say everything this first time, because we're gonna plan to meet every single week. And I really want to do half an hour, 45 minutes. I don't think an hour is necessary. So we'll just keep dribbling and keep learning and show up with our charts and our questions. So before we get started in the total meat and potatoes of things, Melissa, is there any specific things you have as far as your chart goes right now, as how you're looking at, you know, you're going on to the next level?
Well, so here's what I struggle with. My chart does not look anywhere where it needs to be for my next goal. So I maintain diamond through volume, but everybody who originally went diamond with me quit, which for coding is a good thing, because everybody who's in here now is coded to me diamond. So the problem is, I think I get hesitant. I've just been going wide. I counted last night, I had 19 people on my top line. Wow. Now, because I placed, when I went diamond the first time, mm-hmm. I placed almost everybody. And so that didn't work for me. So I think I'm nervous to place, but I know I need to in order to promote.
Mm-hmm. Can I address one thing before you go on? Because yes. I know you're gonna give me more. So Liz and I went through this same thing.
Okay.
And what we found, and it was actually sort of after we had watched the movie The Good Lie, right? Mm-hmm. And The Good Lie, the tagline in that movie was, you can go fast alone or you can go far together. Mm-hmm. And so what really rang home to me, because we were struggling with the same thing really at that time, where we had promoted and
built pretty much everything.
We had done a lot of building ourselves. We had kept a lot of that stuff on the top line, exactly the same as you. And then I realized that every time we placed somebody on the top line, those people they were basically working by themselves. They had to build their own organization, right? I was looking for leaders, but I wasn't putting together a championship team. I was saying, here, you be on this team. Oh, by yourself. Here, you be on this team. Oh, by yourself, right? If that makes sense. And so I was never putting a team together. I was never putting an executive structure together. And I know that you're saying to yourself, well, I did that the first time.
And that's what we did the first time.
But do you know what's different the second time around? You are. We are. We're different. We're not the same people as we were the first time. We're more cultivated leaders. So the first time a coach puts a team together, he doesn't have a lot of skills, right? And he fumbles about and he makes mistakes. And those are good mistakes because you learn from them. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to put a championship team together the first time. And so I have to look at Mark when he put his team together finally with It Works. And I say he put a team together many times before he got to It Works. Mm-hmm. And so that's the one thing that I would caution you to think about as you're building the second time, is to give yourself the credit that you deserve, that you're doing this for the second or third time to put a championship team together. Be confident about that. and then start building that structure again. So I'm going to tell you flat out, 19 people is way too many people to have spread across your top line. If you get to be ambassador after a while, I would definitely say go back and put 19 people on your top line and try and build it wide at that point. But right now you need to work on building your structure again and putting together a championship team with the abilities that you've gained and that we've all gained as a team together.
Because now we know layered leadership. You know, some of those that are watching the recording, we've read and we've been through the Bob Goshen layered leadership. You know, we know how to now work with and raise up new leaders now. We know how, like, for example, we need a whole diamond structure for John to go triple, and I need a whole nother diamond structure to go presidential. So we have put together those teams. And so what that looks like now is Becky and all of her people are all in a thread together. And now I'm coaching them way differently than I ever did.
Plus, we're using Zooms today. We didn't have Zooms. We weren't even using Google Hangouts the first time around. So we were literally doing calls. And so all of that has changed from the first time till now.
Yeah. But that makes sense to me because I know the first time when I placed, I just placed. I didn't have them work together as a team. I placed them, but still coach them as my personally sponsored. And so, like, just even last month, the 2 distributors I brought on, now that you're saying that, like, I put them in a thread together, but I'm just more for time's sake, but I still worked with them individually. One's quit already.
Yep. They need to know that
they need to be together. Like, you guys are a team together. This is your group. Like I call them.
You coach, so you bring peace. So basically what you say, so like just say my new girl that just came on. So basically anybody I bring on now, I should be putting under her and saying, let's do this together.
Yep. Yes. You're saying whether, okay, so take Cammie. Cammie's working on her 2.0 leg right now. I mean, that is one big functional system that she's put together. We've met most of those leaders from that 2.0 team, and we're friends with them. We know who they are. We know how plugged in with each other they are. And so that's what we're trying to do. And even if we tell ourselves we're basically building John and Liz 2.0,
and you could be saying the same thing.
We're putting together a structure that's basically we're telling people we're building a championship team, and you're part of that team. Here's where we're placing you within that team. We want you to get your sideline, your upline, who you're placed under. And if we put more, if more downlines get to be put underneath you, then we're looking for you to be a part of that and work with it to join in on the Zooms. We're expecting people to join in on those things if they want to be in a structure. If they want to be by themselves, that's up to them. We can discuss that beforehand. But if they want to go somewhere and they want to be part of a team, then they're going to be.
I have never seen the awesomeness. Becky, Becky's the leader of this, their Ruby structure right now. They are all, it's awesome. It's kind of like I put in a little hook or a little something, and then they start chatting with each other. Like, who's got the next loyal to, because we want that leg to go faster than slower. And so they all are working together with, I got a loyal, I got the BB checked out tree viewer, the one, they all know what we usually don't teach anybody until they're way further along.
Wow. So they don't get over. So this is totally mind boggling to me because this is a total opposite of how I've been doing everything. And so I love it. But so new people don't get overwhelmed with that.
They're not. They don't seem to be at all. I mean, we don't add, like I put so I know who the runners are in that structure. Becky's the going to be the diamond. Angela Heikela is going to be her emerald. And then she's still working on who's going to be that other side. So I only have, I have them all. One thread is all of them together. And then I got the leaders, the ones who are totally plugged in, totally want the diamond, totally want the emerald. I got them in a different thread together. So the two of them, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like two threads, if that makes sense. So that I can talk differently in the business partner thread than I talk to, how's everybody doing with their launch parties? Who's got, 4 loyal customers for 120? Does that make sense?
You just said you have the diamond, the emerald, and the ruby in one separate thread that you speak differently to all the qualified boxes that are coming along.
It's kind of like Kim's leadership group with us.
Wow.
But here, what was the other thing I was going to say? So the other thing that we're doing differently beyond leadership this time is, our approach to, for example, going after that fast start bonus and basically passing down loyals so that we ensure that everybody grabs a fast
Got it all
start
fast
bonus.
starts.
That
See,
is
I've never placed a loyal. And so my new girl got one loyal, and now I'm like debating, should I just throw that other loyal under there?
yeah,
And get
you should. You should. You definitely
Doing
should.
things very differently now.
I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you straight out. The first time we started doing it, it felt really awkward because we had
Now we were taught by Cammie and Kim.
we had never done it before. We hadn't been taught that way, and yet once I remember listening to a video by Denise Walsh like probably 2 years ago where she talked about, you know, when she was making like $80,000, over 40% of that was coming from fast start, you know, and coding bonuses. And I was like, dude, we're leaving money on the table. We are leaving money on the table. So this time we took a totally different approach to it. And I have to say, I think the difference is when you're building a championship team and you have people working together, then they start thinking, how can I get the next person? How can I pass that down? How can we all get it? How can we fill it in? They're all talking together this time instead of everybody trying to get loyal customers for themselves.
Right. And I'm not saying that some people still, that there aren't going to be some people that are still like, oh, humming. There's going to be a little bit of that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That are still sitting there. They're brand new and they still haven't gotten their first loyal customer, and somehow they have 4 underneath them. You know,
but we're trying with especially with these when your team promotes, it has to be a literal movement, and a movement can't happen with one person. It just can't.
Right.
You're going to be pulling the whole freaking wagon up the hill by yourself.
That's why I started out in tears. I'm exhausted already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to, like, here's what's going to happen. So if you're exhausted now because you're pulling the wagon by yourself, when you put together a championship team that starts running together, you're going to be, instead of exhausted, you're going to be filled up with energy from the inside because there's so much awesome sauce going on.
And you're coaching them. It's not like I'm doing all the work. It's like they're doing it. Like Becky just brought on her daughter. Angela just brought on a second, so she just filled in her executive section. They're all chatting. The diamond that's going to be emerald and ruby. They're all saying like, okay, I got to place this loyal customer. What BB or what PBV are they at? We got to make sure they get this. I got to get my $100 fast start bonus. I mean, it's so everything starts out. They all know exactly what's going on. It is a team effort. It is totally amazing.
Totally different than the first time.
So I have two
was here, Melissa. I want to interrupt you, but when Cammie was here, that's what she's doing now. She said, I don't ever keep any loyal customers. I teach my team to place them. So she has learned, because everybody else has came in here and went ambassador way faster, and it just keeps happening faster and faster and faster. Why is that? Because they're placing. They're placing people. They're building structures. And I think there is strength in that when you put them together and you teach them to work together. There is structure. There is strength there that they realize teamwork really does make this dream work. They all have a part of ownership in this. Like, oh my goodness, I helped get the 2 loyal customers there to get to the $400 or whatever.
All right, so I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So this is
mind-boggling.
Yeah. So logistically, with a loyal customer, because this is funny, because when I first started, I did training and opened it up to a girl who was from a whole different team, and she's in our area, and it's funny because she's on a team that does this. And so when we were doing training, she goes, that's not what I was taught. She's a Ruby, and she's never brought any, she has one of her own loyal customers, and that's it. And she's never brought on a distributor, and she's Ruby. And so I remember her, and I just said, you have to go back to your upline for training then, because I don't even know what, I was only in a couple months. So logistically, I have a couple, how do you then, so I guess her feeling was she never serviced her loyal customers because they weren't hers. She didn't know anybody that was under her. Now, her whole team's in Maryland. She's part of a big ambassador leg that's down there, but she was up here by herself. So she keeps running into one of my DTs and saying, I wish I could, I don't want to give up my Ruby paycheck to start all over, but I have no team and I have no, so, and I know that you said you're doing that differently because you're making them a part of the team, but like logistically, how do you do the loyal customers, and do you still service your own loyal customers even though they're under somebody else?
Yep.
Yes, we still service our own because they're ours.
Here's the thing.
And we let them know, like if I place a couple loyal customers, everybody knows, you tell that person, that distributor, I have just placed 2 loyal customers underneath you. Do you know that there's a wrap reward there? And then we encourage them, you only have 2 more that you need to get your 120 in free product credit.
So that's their
So we're
job to get
encouraging them. It doesn't mean that they're always going to get the 4, but we're speaking that, we're communicating that, and we're telling them, we even say, do you know that when you bring on your first loyal customer or your first distributor and they get 2 loyal customers, you're going to grab a $100 Fast Start bonus.
Yep.
So we're teaching them as we're moving through so they completely understand. And again, they're a part of the team. They're together. So it's not like they don't know who's coming underneath them. We're getting on Zooms together. Okay, so Becky, this girl has been placed underneath you. This is Angela. Meet Angela. This is she's underneath you. This is what we expect and require of you.
Like co-sponsorship.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more.
And to your question about that specific person who had a Ruby built underneath them, who didn't know anybody,
That's just not
that wants to have their own thing. Yeah, first of all, that's possibly bad communication. I mean, the person who's placing these under there could be doing a better job probably doing
Connecting
communication and connecting, but I understand when you're moving fast, sometimes that slips through the cracks. But what I want to say is that that person should look at that Ruby structure and they should say to themselves, wow, first of all, I'm blessed. Okay. Second of all, if you want to go out and build your own thing, you can do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just consider that there's one Ruby built underneath you already. Now all that person has to do is go out and build one of their own Rubies. Suddenly they're an emerald. And they can use that as just,
So when you place a loyal, I've never placed a loyal customer. When you place a loyal, they go towards the person you place them under. They get the wrap rewards. They get the car bonus towards them and all that. So you don't get any of it except just whatever commission if they're on your top line.
Okay, so a placed person, you basically give up your sponsorship for them, first of all.
For a loyal.
Yours anymore, even though you're still.
It's not yours. You're gonna keep in touch with them and service them as you would a normal loyal customer. First of all, let's talk about if they promote or if they want to promote to a distributor.
If they want to upgrade,
they want to upgrade to a distributor, right? So if they're doing that inside of 3 months, then there would be that $50. You'd have to pay the $50
to move them around where you wanted them
so that
to be.
you could still move them, because remember, they're your person. They could upgrade right where they are, and then they would be underneath the distributor that you placed them under. Follow?
I don't follow.
Okay, so if you bring on a loyal customer and place them under Jane, who's XYZ level underneath you, then when that person, if they decide to upgrade to a distributor, they're going to
be under
naturally be under Jane right now, because you've given up your sponsorship, your enrollership.
Okay.
Right?
So technically, in charting wise, it's Jane's loyal, so it's Jane's distributor.
Correct.
Okay.
But if you say to yourself, you know what, I'm not sure that I want this girl to be underneath Jane as a distributor. I'm not sure that that's what my placement dictates. You can go and pay the $50 fee so that you can have them, so that they can essentially quit being a loyal customer.
Okay.
Right? And then you can just sign them up as a distributor and place them where you want. There's also a couple other ways that you can do that. We're not going to get into that right now.
Okay.
But I'm just explaining that's what's happening.
There are ways around. If they do upgrade to a distributor, you can still have the rights to them to move them into the organization where you need them as a distributor, if indeed they do become a distributor down the road.
This is way different.
When you're giving, so you gave up your wrap reward by placing them, okay? The other thing you know, your
customer bonus.
You have your low customer bonus.
Yeah, but essentially, if you have a new distributor, you're giving them that wrap reward. It's just getting wraps in their hands that they're hopefully essentially going to turn around and use to wrap people and get their business going.
Exactly, and you are getting $100 fast start out of it. If you're diamond qualified, which you are, you're also getting an 80 if you place that person. Follow? So you're getting 180. So for Liz and I, when we place a person who becomes fast start qualified, then we get 235 out of that.
As triple diamonds.
As triple diamonds. So that's a lot of money. So that's why we decided that leaving money on the table is a bad idea.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So
Do you get that? So who cares about the wrap rewards? Who cares about the little meagly things? What is really important is you're getting the $100 fast start by placing loyal customers to ensure you have that. Plus at your diamond and above level, which that's what we're talking about on this Zoom, you're getting $80 every
Right.
time on top of the 100.
and I think that the even deeper thing, because first thing is the financial, right? You're getting paid for the work you're doing. The
Yeah, you've trained them, you've spent time with them, you've launched them.
the bigger
Take the 100.
I think the bigger thing out of all this is that you're putting together that championship team where you're having people work together.
They're moving together.
They're getting some loyal customers. Let's say they got a slow start, but maybe you place the first 2, you encourage them to finish it off and get their other 4. You are working with them directly. There's stuff going on, more than just talk. There's actually action going on.
More than leaving people out on islands on your top line and saying, have fun. And then you're going, nothing's happening.
Yeah, I mean,
You just put them together. Have them party together. Some will figure it out and be like, awesome, let's do it together. It's
But now I'm just
together.
Okay. So what's your next question? Otherwise, we'll keep going with some stuff we got.
I totally forgot it now, but go ahead.
Okay, where were we? We were
Does that make sense though, Melissa?
It makes I just had no idea that that's what you got. Like, it makes total sense. I'm just frustrated because, like you said, it makes a lot of sense, but it's just against everything we've ever done.
Right. Because, Cammie did it the way that she thought she was kind of like the number one, but now people are bypassing her like left and right. And she's saying, holy buckets, there's another way to do it. It's kind of like going to the grocery store. There's one way you can walk, or you can get in a car and go this way, or you know what I mean?
I'm going to give you a quick example. See this piece of paper? Most people think that the quickest way from here to here is here to here. What if you went like this and went through the piece of paper from there to there?
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There is another way, is what we're saying, and I think in the end what it does is it promotes more teamwork.
And remember, we cannot, as much as we want perfect team to happen, it ain't going to happen. It just isn't. And the cream will always rise to the top. People who you believe that we're going to stay in this business quit. And you go, what the heck happened? I trained them, I gave them all this time. So you got to quit thinking too much. You got to bring them on. You got to just put them where they need to go. And you got to just keep moving. And the cream will always rise to the top.
And I know Denise Walsh said too, she said, the last thing I want to worry about when I get to Ambassador is filling in 400 boxes every month. She said, I do it to get there. And after that, my maintenance volume kicks in and I work with my team who's working, right? So that goes back to what you said. You work with the people who are working, but that's why promotions get to be so stressful, is because you do have to have the 400s filled in for every box. But after that, you're working with people that want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you have me print this chart out, I'm like, I didn't realize how, but like you said, the beauty of it, of just me being able to maintain diamond. I mean, there's a month I'll dip down and come, but to really be able to maintain it this long through volume, but now, so here's just a very quick question. So you're saying the cream always rises to the top. So if you start building under the wrong person, basically what you're saying is it doesn't really matter, because I guess, they've always said not to place more than your top 2 lines, because you're missing out on money. But I think the way that you guys are saying it is no, not necessarily.
Well, here's what I always tell people, Melissa, on that. The interesting thing, and we're going to get into this later on when we, because we're talking about diamond and double diamond above here. When you place a distributor on someone's top line, for example, essentially that person can look at it as, whoa, somebody's doing all the work for me. This is awesome. This is total entitlement. That's worst case scenario, where the person's like, I'm going to get a free ride.
That happened last time. Okay,
but here's the funny thing. So when you work hard yourself, when you bring on your own people, you get paid for it. And I'm talking, that 5% personal enrollership is huge when you start going diamond and double diamond, because of the bonuses that start coming in that are based off of that. I mean, we talk about when you go generational bonus for the first time. So you are a diamond and you hatch the first diamond underneath you, you get if you have a personally enrolled person who does that, you get a 9% raise.
That's what Kim told me the other day. I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea.
If that person is not personally enrolled, you get a 4% raise, which like Jim Rohn would say is fine. But 9% is super fine.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So I just like, and that's where the trust part in the beginning that you said, I can't worry about it, and I just got to trust that whatever.
And here's the thing.
We're thinking too much.
In the end, I know that as we were building, I was like, oh man, that person there, they're not working at all, and they're getting a free check off of us or a free check off of the person underneath them. But here's the funny thing. You have to be commission qualified, which you know, to collect a check. And that means either ADBV qualified or 150 personal bonus volume qualified. And guess what? If a person is too lazy to work themselves and they're just mooching, eventually they're not even going to want to spend $150 or $120 to go out and grab themselves what could end up being a diamond commission paycheck. I've seen it happen. I don't know, just a lot of times just in our organization alone. It's crazy. So yeah, cream does rise to the top. People who are plugged in and want to succeed, want it, for themselves, they're going to find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So then you just, so going forward, I mean, I have 3 people that have really stuck it out with me that still show up. Mm-hmm. One works and can do it on her own. The other 2 are a little stuck. So you 2 are under one leg and 1 is under a different leg.
You got 2 legs. That sounds perfect.
So do you commit to one, or do you place under both?
I'd work with both. I mean, right now you're ultimately well, it sounds like you have to solidify. You still have a diamond through maintenance, but as you go to double diamond, you can use that diamond. Well, essentially you're going to have an emerald over there.
Yeah, I need a diamond and an emerald.
But every time you promote to that next level, then everybody has to be 400. The boxes have to be.
I know. In. That's the part that gets a little overwhelming. But so now I've been thinking about it while you're talking, and I'm actually very excited because I think obviously just logistically, if I have 2 of the people that are working under one leg, then that would be my diamond leg, just because there's 2.
Start with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the one that only has one leg, then obviously, that would be my emerald leg.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But so do you work a ruby at a time? Like I don't like that's the part. Do you start just putting one here and one there, just kind of back and forth?
I mean, I think that when you're working in multiple areas, you definitely have to, because eventually one is going to really take off. And so then that's going to become your strength. And you know that you have to maintain balance in order to get paid, in all the ways that we get paid in this business. And so it does, I think, to initially answer your question, yes, I believe that you do have to work a little here and there and be definitely connected with your leadership and your people in those groups to say, hey, I'm plugging a person in over here because I think we need a little extra sauce over here. And then they're going to work with that. They should be working with that person to exhaust their hundreds list on that person, because everybody's bringing in new contacts. Mm-hmm. Okay. So every time somebody new comes in, you should be thinking to yourself, I got to work with that new hundreds list. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, I do believe if you're working with 2 or 3, rubies, work with those at the same time. Don't just let it get crazy out of control on one side and then start from scratch. Cause then you're literally, I believe you're talking about 30-day action plans there. You're quite possibly talking about a 30-day action plan on a ruby over here, a 30-day action plan on a ruby over here. That can turn into a lot of time. So it's better to be working, if you can spread yourself 2 or 3 places, I believe, mm-hmm. as you're bringing people in.
Well, this is what I always think, and this is what I think Kim has told me too in the past, is work on what you're presently working on, but always have the mindset of what's next and always be working on what's next. So if you know that your diamond structure is there, then you're looking at double. So what does that look like for double? And then like for us, we're already looking at what would John's presidential, what would be the next presidential leg coming off that top line. And for me, that ambassador. So, even in I have some incentive groups, and I even have some people in there that are further out than what our triple and presidential is, because they need to be starting to rise up. So always be thinking about where you are presently, but always be thinking a step ahead. You know what I mean?
Yes. Now, do you bring, so say these 3 people that I'm going to truly focus on now and start to build under.
Yeah.
Do you
tell them
bring
that too? You tell them that. Hello.
So you bring them together and you say, here's my plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I always try to not make it about me. So I've always been hesitant. I don't ever want them to think I want them to go diamond for selfish reasons, so I don't.
People need a vision.
People perish if there's no vision. They want to follow a leader.
People have to have a big vision to go behind. Look at Martin Luther King and John Kennedy. Man, people wanted to be behind them because their vision was so large it was literally off the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's widely because I've been doing stuff on vision, but my vision's more of like world-changing vision and not structurally. And you're right.
You can't change the world without having structure. You need income, sweetheart. You can't do the world-changing thing without the money.
Yeah.
You got to be able to have the income to be able to do that. So
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, you got to be focused where it needs to go, and then you can do the other things on the outside that you truly want to do besides that. But you got to work there first. You got to get to those different income levels. So you have to just say, you can specifically talk to them and say, this is where I really want to go, and I'm willing to work with you and partner up with you. Do you really want?
You're my diamond. You're my emerald. You're my.
Well, just ask them that. Do you really want to go somewhere in this business? Do you want to be an emerald? Do you want to partner up with me and let's work together? And they can either say yes or they can either say no. So you know whether you're going to be looking for new people or if you're going to be working with those people. And
something that Denise Walsh says also is that she says to people, I'm excellent at getting back to people, but she said I'm not very good at chasing people. So you tell people that as you're building your team, you want to establish a relationship where you're playing ball with each other, you're playing catch. If you have to chase them, you're probably going to forget about them.
Yeah, and I'm upfront about that too.
Right.
I mean, this time around, Melissa, again, we've learned a lot. This time around,
we're bold and we're confident.
I have told them that, you know what, my time is valuable, and I'm guessing you would say yours is too.
So I've seen a total change in you guys.
So when we say this, when we talk to people, I said, do you believe you're coachable is the first thing I say. And of course they all say, well, I think so. All right. And I'm like, okay, well then, this is the first step. And I said, I'm a true believer in working with people who are working back with me. And I've told every distributor that have come on that if you don't pass the ball back to me, I will not pass it back to you. I said, I'm just being upfront with you that my time is valuable and so is yours. So I'm not here to mess around. Like if we want to go somewhere, let's do this. So, and they've all been very respectful of my time. I have to say, every single one of them have shown up. And if they haven't, then I don't do anything beyond that. I just don't. So that's something that you just have to get a real thick skin, and you have to be very vision oriented. You just can't,
I think that, and let's speak to you because you're, the yellow. And I think what you have to realize is that as people, you're concerned about how caring you are and how caring you come off to people. But I think what you have to realize is that you're so caring that you want to do big things in the world, and people need to respect that. And that's the skin I think that Liz is talking about. And that's also the honor that you owe yourself, is to say, hey, I got big plans, right? I respect myself. People need to respect me, and I'm going to feel confident about that. I'm going to own that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And remember, most people come into this business because they need the income. They don't necessarily need some more time wasting things. You know what I mean? Even though those things are really, they are very much important part of this. But at the end of the day, people are not going to hang around if they're not making income. And so what is our job as leaders? Is to say, you came into this business to make the $500. Are you on track for that, or are you not?
Right.
Because we can hang and chill and party and be fun and all day, but you came here because you needed the income.
And so
now let's get serious about that.
And so that is where, that's where we're going to lead into next time, is where when people come into this business for income, we basically right now have 6 ways to get income in this business.
Yeah, it's more than 5.
And we
6.
And I tell you, before we end the call, or before we end the Zoom now, we're actually going to list out. We're not going to go into detail. We're just going to list out what those 6 ways are to get income in this business. And then next time we're going to go into detail on how to get there. So the first way is wrap cash, which we know. And I love this because Step one, when you join the party for $99, the company lets you get $100 back in wrap cash right away. Okay, so they let you pay for your investment. Step two is team sales, and this gets into the residual income. And I also love what Denise Walsh said, because the first one is basically 1 + 1 = 1 for wrap cash. When you go to step two, 2 + 2 no longer equals 4. And the reason why is residual income. And residual income basically means exponential growth, which basically means 2 + 2 no longer equals 4. Because when someone comes on into your organization and you say, what's the ROI on that? You say, I have no idea, because that person creates a ripple effect that goes out into eternity.
It's hard to track that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so second step was team sales, residual income. Third step is that fast start bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and like I said,
and a diamond and double, that's crazy, because that's when the total madness comes in, when you help that distributor get their 2 loyals. That means placing them if they're not getting those 2, to make sure that you're getting the 100 and now you're getting the 80.
But you know what? It's so funny that you say that now, because like last night when my new girl who got 1 loyal texted me, she's like, I'm too overwhelmed. Please don't be mad. You know, thinking to I've always put that control in there. I'm like, oh crap, there goes, my fast start bonus. But this
and grab that.
But that's what I'm saying. Now it makes me like, well, I got to go out and grab a loyal today to put under her. Like,
Absolutely.
I think it's just get people moving instead of sitting there and being like, crap. Let me,
and now you're going to be like, sweet, I just made a $100 fast start.
No, you don't feel like crap. You say, I'm going to get paid, baby.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Instead of sitting there feeling like, oh, it's out of my control, I can't control her, I totally can if I place. I just never placed a loyal ever in my whole life. I have 108 loyals.
I think that the person...
Believe us, we have like 250. We are no longer going to be doing that.
I think that getting people to join is probably, if you want to look at that as the hard part, everything else in the compensation plan is just putting the pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to make it work for you.
That makes so much sense.
All right, you're so excited. You're like, yes, I got $100.
I'm like,
with her. I spent time with her. I've tried to plug into her. She needs to overcome her whatevers. But hey, I got my $100, and she's still in it. But I got my $100 at least plus 80 as a diamond.
And so don't forget that in order to collect that 100, you need to have that person has to either run their ADB auto ship the first month, or they have to have 150. So that's the other thing to watch out for.
If they're not running their auto shipment.
If they didn't run their auto ship,
or they're not 150.
You need to have enough volume underneath them in order to collect that. So if you were placing an extra order, for example, that month because you wanted to have
150,
whatever you wanted to have, you could place a little extra volume underneath them to make sure that their volume came out to 150 PBV.
So do you only ever place 2, or will you go 4?
I will go 4. If like right now we're in this very busy season, so we want them to be at 400 boxes for that diamond structure. So we will all be working to make sure they have 400.
We start with 2. We start with 2, so we get the $100 fast start, and then we basically look at what we need from there. And
we're trying to get them to launch. You know what I mean? But you can't force people. Remember, we needed to work with what we can control. And so we can control getting them their 4. If they just can't stinking get their 4. So, we know where we want to go in this business. Remember, sometimes this isn't necessarily their dream at this point. They're new. You don't want to also put the pressure on people who don't want to be pressured. They'll figure it out along the way, or they'll decide that it's not for them. So again, not thinking too much about it.
So the fourth step is the low customer acquisition bonus, which used to be the car bonus, but they changed it to the low customer acquisition bonus.
It's just the low customer bonus.
Low customer bonus, sorry. That was cab bonus. That was customer acquisition bonus I was talking about.
And that's that $600 extra per month when you have 3,000 in personal bonus volume. And I don't know how awesome that is anymore.
And so, yeah, just very quickly, we got that, 3 months in, but we also didn't have any distributors until 4 months in. Mm-hmm. So guess what we were working and focusing on? And
I was making a little over $1,000 with that low customer bonus, but guess how much I'm making now as a leader? Tens of thousands.
That's funny because Tommy keeps saying to me, like, just stop trying to go for bonuses. Just go for the car bonus.
Well, I think that, Melissa, respectfully, if I was going to refer back to the front of this call, I would say that's like cutting your jars off and saying, I want to just go for this many jars.
Well, that's going for the good instead of the great. But the reason it never made sense to us before is because I never did it this way.
You have to know what the rest of the compensation plan is before you sell yourself on the low customer bonus.
Yeah, no, that's genius. I would just take that one off the table. All right, go ahead.
All right, so
and then the sixth one right now, with those
Number
leadership
5.
bonuses.
now we're on 5, so we're on the
yeah.
we're on the leadership bonus. This is basically the CAB bonus is what this is. So this is customer acquisition bonus. Okay, so this is basically, to really keep it simple, this is an enhancement of the Fast Start bonus.
Mm-hmm. And that's where you get your 100 plus your 80, and your 80 is paid in your monthly commissions. When you go double, because this call is for doubles as well, you get 100 plus the 80 plus the 20.
It's 120 is what it is.
It's 120 on top of the 100.
It's 120 on top of the 100.
So
at double diamond.
So 220, you're saying.
220, yes.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, hello. Fast Start bonuses. We are not going to leave that money on the table. Do you get that, Melissa?
Well, yeah, because even if you're double, even if you don't bring them on, it's not 220, but it's still 120. You haven't done anything. It's just somebody on your team's brought them on.
Well, and that's what Pam always says about the 80, 80, 80, 80, 80 to infinity. You know, that starts at diamond when you bring those people on. Once you're diamond, you bring a person on who brings a person on. That's 80 every time at the diamond level.
Well, I'll never forget before I even joined, and Kim got me to go to try my rap for the first time. Cammie and Nathan were here, and Nathan, I'll never forget when Nathan stood up and he was talking to everybody. And he said, "Listen, we're nice people, but don't think we flew all the way out here just because we're super nice." And there was hundreds of people in that room, and he looked at every chair and went 120, 120, 120, 120, 120. People were like,
and that Melissa, that is knowing, that's confidence, and that's being bold about what our comp plan is. Now, Nathan was being bold in what it was doing for them, and he was trying to pass he was training that boldness down to the rest of those people. And that's what we're doing by being bold. We're just not being sissy anymore. We're not lacking confidence about what
and we're not saying, oh, you know, and we got $100 plus we're saying, do you know that when you're at our level at Triple Diamond, you could be getting, when you place your 2 loyal customers, you could be getting $100 Fast Start bonus plus $235 more dollars? I mean, we're letting them know that.
Okay.
Like we tell people, you know, you got your 2 loyal customers, but guess what? You got the 100. We got, you know, we let them know what we're getting, and we're saying you could be getting that too. So we're really
that's something. Okay. All right.
So step 6, the 6th way to get paid right now is good bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's obviously there's people that are going for the good bonus, and not only are they good, but they're double good.
So for those like, okay, so the Brittany's that would be on, so they're diamond going for double, and you know that could be you know, the double diamond is a $30,000 bonus right now, which when you do the math on 25 months, do you realize that's $1,200 extra dollars in bonus money alone? Not even in your monthly commissions?
So Liz and I, we're going for triple and presidential. That's $150,000 in bonuses paid over 25 months. That's $6,000 a month extra.
$6,000 extra. That's no joke, people. That's a lot of changing people's worlds, Melissa.
I think what we're doing is we have to break it down. We have to make it real. We have to understand, especially when we're talking to people, when we're talking to you at this level, this is where you really need to understand. Like when you first get into the business, you're just concerned about doing the steps to success because that's where the money's at. And it's still where the money's at as you continue to do your business. But as you start to understand the compensation plan and the 6 ways to get paid in this business, you try to get paid in all 6 ways if you can, and most likely you're going to leave step 4 out because I would say
you
there's
won't be
probably
able to get those by keeping all your loyal customers.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's giving up the good to go for the great.
You're giving up the good to go for the great. And
that's right.
And it's way more than just the great. It's like unleashed.
Yes.
It's off the hook what it is.
Yeah.
I've been doing it so wrong.
No.
You haven't been doing it wrong. That's how we learned. And remember, that's why we're better together, because, you know, one person does it one way, but then you hear somebody else is doing it another way, and you start putting nuggets together and you're like, holy buckets, what are we doing? You know, if we're not maximizing on how we're getting paid, then for sure we're not teaching it. And for sure, our paycheck is half or a quarter of what it could be. And the same for our teams if we're not teaching that.
I think
So-
on the note of doing it wrong, you never want to look at yourself that you're doing it wrong.
Now you know better, so you'll do better.
You're saying you did it initially one way. Now you're graduating with knowledge to do it the next way, and you're going to enhance yourself and those around you because you know that information.
But it's been making
It's not gonna be perfect.
no, but it does make sense because I've been saying to myself for a couple months now, like, I know my heart's right. Like, I'm like, there's just something missing. I'm not doing something right. And I've been trying to, like, soul search and figuring out, thinking it was maybe like something. And I think it's just it's been a logistic thing. It's been, more of
Strategy.
We did that.
Strategy.
We did the same thing, Melissa. We were actually in the trenches down here going, we're missing something. We're missing something. We're missing something.
Right.
And we realized that there's a saying out there that when you don't get to your goal, you don't change your goal per se. You change your strategy. You change your strategy on how you're going to get there. You change your approach until you find out that it works.
Mm-hmm.
We know that it works and the compensation plan works, right? So it's strategy. How do we attack this thing to get out of it what we want?
Okay. So just 5 working on the top line and the rest go under.
That's right.
All right.
Yep.
It's time to build.
Going down under like to Australia.
It's time to build, and it's time to partner up with those people and work together, because together you're stronger. You're not stronger, trying to make people to work it on their own. And if they're not naturally that way, like I would be him, obviously we're over here in Minnesota. I'm a top liner of Dan's. We're naturally already Eagles, but most people are not. They just aren't, So you got to remember that they work better together in teams. Think how you work. Do you work better by yourself, or do you work better in a team setting? You know what I mean? Cheering each other on, saying, all right, I can help here, you can help there. Everybody, the hands working together.
It makes sense because Tommy is even getting a little frustrated because everybody I bring on fizzles out. And, he even said, well, what makes you respond to Kim the way that you do? I mean, a lot of it, I'm like, I think a lot of it's innate, but we do have a good friendship. I've been friends with her for a long time. And, so that makes sense because even the people that don't naturally have that in them, when they feel a part of something, they're going to try a little harder and
That's
not be
right.
as easy. And at least just be a piddler. We need piddlers. I mean, we still just need people to just be there and be volume and do a little.
If you think about it, though, Melissa, like what you just said, when people feel like they're part of a gang and they feel like they have an
ownership in there,
integral part in it, they get ownership, and they start to bleed for the gang. And I think about the young ones in the gang, because I was never in a gang, but I saw enough gang stuff like on TV or whatever. In order to initiate and make those young ones feel like they can do more, the big ones give them a job to do, and they get them to feel ownership in it. They get them to make it their own. And that's what you get. That's what you get by building a team and putting together a championship team. Speak life into that by calling it your championship team. This is no sissing around here. This is the big time.
Mm-hmm.
And people that come in now, they're at the front end of this thing. They're the tip of your sword, tip of your spear.
And you know what? Not everybody's going to be like we talk about. Some are the hand for Jesus. Some people are the mouth. Some are the foot. So you might just have somebody who's a big encourager and a big cheerleader. They aren't maybe doing much, but they're cheering everybody on. And that's their gift and that's their blessing to help. You know what I mean? Because maybe they haven't figured out, or they're still afraid to ask people to become a loyal customer. But you're going to have those that are going to be in there that are going to be like, yes, let's go, those action-oriented people. So
I'm going to, we're going to cut the recording right now so that we cut it right at an hour.
Okay.
And then we can chat a little bit after that yet. So I'm going to cut it. So thanks for joining in, guys. Next time, we are going to pick up with, breaking down the 6 ways that we get paid in this business. Specifically, we're going to be talking more about CAB bonuses. Generational bonuses, so that you guys realize the importance of these leadership levels. So thanks for joining in. We'll see you next time.